When you see a car you've never seen before, something stirs inside you. You feel slightly unsettled. In this video, I've compiled 11 rare classic Mercedes models you've likely never seen before. Be careful, because the thought of why you haven't seen these cars before might disturb you. Everyone has heard of the Mercedes 300 SL. Nobody is unfamiliar with the Mercedes 600 Grosser, and the Mercedes W123 is already a legend. I talked about them in other videos. I recommend you watch those as well. Of course, after this video is finished, if you're a classic car or Mercedes enthusiast, you can support the channel by liking the video. To be notified of new videos I've prepared for you on the channel, you can subscribe and turn on notifications. If you're ready, let's begin. By the end of the video, you will have witnessed cars you may have never seen before. Lean back and enjoy the video. Let's start with the first car, and you might be shocked even now. Mercedes 220 Cabriolet B, 1951. At that time, Germany had just emerged from the war. There was no fuel, factories were being restored. This car was produced during that period. This car is not a sports car, a sedan, or a full cabriolet. It's a four-door open-top car. Thinking of a cabriolet having four doors feels very strange today. In practice, this almost never works. The entire cabin fills with wind. There's a deafening noise. Structural rigidity is largely lost. But Mercedes didn't care. When I say didn't care, I mean Mercedes wasn't producing this car for ordinary people. It was producing it to prove the rebirth of German engineering to the entire world. This was a message, and that message was being read by names from Europe's old noble families, newly wealthy industrial barons, and diplomats whose eyes were watching Germany's recovery. Because Mercedes had made this car for them. This car was making a statement. Today, I don't believe there are more than 100 of these cars left in the world. If you ever come across a Mercedes 220 Cabriolet B one day, look at the open-top one, not the closed one. Only then will you understand why this vehicle exists as an expression. The second car, Mercedes 300D, Adenauer, 1951. This car takes its name from Konrad Adenauer, the first Chancellor of West Germany, because Konrad Adenauer used this car with great fondness for a very long time. At a time when giants like Bentley and Rolls-Royce were on the market, a head of state choosing to drive a Mercedes for years tells you enough about the comfort of that car, in my opinion. The rear seat of the Mercedes 300D, Adenauer had a comfort level unmatched by any car of its time. The rear seat moved independently of the suspension. It was as if the car didn't care about the roughness of the road. There was no vibration whatsoever inside the cabin. Mercedes was doing this in 1951 and in a total of 51 units. Yes, you didn't mishear. 51 units of this car were produced. That number is the number of a handcrafted work of art. And all 51 of those cars were produced with small differences from one another. Differences customized for each client. Seating arrangement, glass color, wood veneer selection, all of these were negotiated, approved, and individually applied. Today you can only see one of these cars at an auction. If you do, be careful when you look at the price. You might be shocked. The third car. This is the least known, least understood, most misinterpreted car on this list. Mercedes C112, 1991. This car became a concept of its time. When Mercedes introduced it at the Frankfurt Motor Show, it asked visitors to fill out order forms. Nothing official, just to gauge interest. 453 people placed orders. 453, and Mercedes did not produce these cars. It refunded the money. Official statements cited technical and cost reasons. But automotive historians today talk about something different. Mercedes at the time didn't feel technologically ready to produce the C112 and believed that not releasing it at all was better than releasing something unfinished. It could have made money by keeping the deposits of 453 people in its coffers, but by choosing to refund them, it gained priceless short-term reputation. But in the long run, it did exactly the opposite. This decision went down in history as the most striking demonstration of Mercedes's perfectionism of that era. There's a customer, there's interest, there's money, but there's no car. The reason being that not everything was quite right yet. The fourth car, Mercedes W111 Fintail, the Fintailed version, 1959. Pay attention to this car. When you first see it from the outside, you say, can a Mercedes look like this? The reason is that at the rear, right alongside the trunk, there are two fins extending upward. Why are those fins there? Aerodynamically, they serve almost no purpose. Back then, this kind of design existed on Cadillacs and Chevrolets. This design had become a status symbol of that era. Mercedes incorporated it with its German engineering sensibility, meaning it made the fins, but didn't design them to be completely absurd in size. It kept them measured. But when the result emerged, Mercedes didn't like it. The internal design team was not happy with this design, but the market was demanding it. The strange detail surfaces here. The fins on this car became not just an aesthetic choice, but a response to the cultural pressures of an era. Mercedes said, "We can do it too." But it did so with a maturity nobody expected. Today these cars, especially the Cabriolet versions, are selling at auctions for 5 times more than just a few years ago. The fifth car, Mercedes C111 1969. This car is very different. Mercedes did not produce this car for sale, but this car is perhaps one of the most important in Mercedes history. The reason is that the Mercedes C111 was not a dream, it was an experimental platform. They tested the Wankel engine, they produced 3-rotor and 4-rotor versions, then they put in a diesel engine, and this diesel version broke a speed record at the Nardo circuit in 1976. In 1976, a car with a diesel engine breaks a speed record. The idea that diesel-engined cars today can be performance cars feels normal to us because the Mercedes C111 had proven it, but at the time, something like that had caused the automotive world to go into shock. The Mercedes C111 never entered the market. Mercedes never sold this car because it wasn't built to be sold. It was built to learn. And what they learned was quietly transferred to the cars produced a few years later. When you come across a Mercedes C111 today, you're not just seeing a concept car, you're seeing one of the roots of modern Mercedes. Moving on to the sixth car, Mercedes 600 Landaulet. This car sits right in the middle of the list. What makes this car different from the standard Mercedes 600 is a single detail. The rear section's roof can be opened, while the driver's section remains closed, a perfect match for protocol vehicles. The Pope, a king, or a president could sit in the back and wave to the crowd, just like in an open-top car, but while benefiting from the security architecture of a closed vehicle, as if two different worlds exist side by side. But the truly strange thing is this. Some of these cars were produced on special order to specifications determined by the client, which state ordered which configuration in which country's insignia it was delivered. Some of this information is still classified today. Most of these cars are kept today in state archives or private collections, and they rarely appear in public. When one comes up for sale, the price can exceed millions, and that price isn't just for the car, it's for the weight of history that comes with it. The seventh car, Mercedes W111 Africa. The official name of this car is of course not Africa. The Mercedes W115, meaning the 200 and 220 series, was used so widely across regions stretching from the Sahara Desert to Central Africa that in some countries the word Mercedes began to mean car. But the strange thing is this: these cars weren't made specifically for those regions. They were standard cars sold in Germany. They were simply built so solidly that they could operate without breaking down for years in roadless terrain in 50-degree heat. In fact, they're still running today. In some countries in West Africa today, you can see 45 and 50-year-old Mercedes on the streets. They're still carrying passengers. Local mechanics now know these cars by heart. There's no need to even consult a parts catalog because those engines have been opened and closed thousands of times, and every bolt has taught itself its place. No special design decision was made for these cars. There was simply a philosophy, and that philosophy proved more durable than iron. The eighth car, Mercedes R107. This car is also from the SL series, produced between 1971 and 1989. The reason this vehicle makes this list is that it was produced for 18 years with almost no changes, a full 18 years. In the automotive world, that span is worth an era. During that time, competitors went through 5 generations of change. Technology changed, consumer expectations transformed. The Mercedes R107, however, was being produced as if exempt from time. The strangest thing is that this car was never the fastest car, never earned the title of most technologically advanced car, but it sold every year, and every year a waiting list formed. The reason is that time can do nothing to things done right. The Mercedes R107 is the embodiment of that truth. Today, the value of a well-preserved Mercedes R107 has tripled compared to just a few years ago. The market, late as it was, accepted the truth. The ninth car, Mercedes 500e, 1991. Now I'm really stopping. I recommend you listen to this entry carefully. This car was not produced on a standard factory line. It was sent from the Mercedes factory to the Porsche factory. Each car was assembled individually at Porsche's facility in Zuffenhausen. The reason is that the engine of the Mercedes 500e wouldn't fit into the standard E-Class body, and to make it fit, it had to be assembled by hand. Robots were helpless. Only human hands could do it. This meant an average of 1 extra week of work for every car to be produced. Every morning, a Mercedes body arriving at the Porsche factory, every evening leaving as a completely different car. But someone who didn't know this would see nothing from the outside. Mercedes was making cars by sending them to a competitor's factory. Only Mercedes could have done this unprecedented thing, and it became history. When competitors heard about this, they thought it was impossible. But the secret was that both companies had a great deal to learn from this car. Cooperation was more valuable than competition. The Mercedes 500e is today described in the collector community as a hidden legend, and that description grows more accurate with each passing year. The 10th car, Mercedes 600 Pullman, 1965, one of the heaviest, but not just in body weight. The difference between the standard 600 and the Pullman is not the difference between one car and another. The Pullman is quite literally a room. Because the rear section is so long, the rear seats were produced so that passengers could sit facing each other, just like a train compartment. The length of this car exceeded 6 meters. Some versions even had a 7th door, solely for communication with the driver. Among the Pullman's client list were Mao Zedong, Idi Amin, Kim Il-sung, and Pope Paul VI. This car witnessed meetings where some of the most controversial decisions in world history were made. Part of a human history unfolded inside these cars. When you think about that, the Pullman ceases to be merely a car and becomes a historical object. Only 59 Mercedes 600 Pullmans were produced, and they scattered across the world. Nobody knows where some of them are. A few are considered lost. And the 11th car, Mercedes 300 SL Roadster, 1957. Now you're expecting the Mercedes 300 SL, but you're wrong. This isn't the car you're expecting. Most of you know the original Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. If you don't, it's in my other videos. I recommend you watch them. The car I'm going to talk about now is the car that came in 1957 and took the doors off the Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. Because the Roadster version's doors don't open upward, like on the Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. They open like a normal car door. The strange thing is that when the doors became normal, getting into the car became even easier. Daily use became possible. From a technical standpoint, the Mercedes 300 SL Roadster was produced with a more advanced suspension system than the Gullwing. Better grip, more predictable behavior. So engineeringly it progressed, but narratively it stepped back. That's precisely why even today there's still a debate in the collector community. Is the Gullwing more beautiful or the Roadster? And the answer to that debate always splits in two. One group says, a design born out of engineering necessity can never be replicated. The other group says, but it's possible to actually sit in the Roadster. Both of these answers are very valid, and that's why this car is on this list. Two cars sharing the same name representing two different philosophies. When you look at all 11 of these cars together, you see very strange and unseen things side by side. A four-door Cabriolet, a model that went unchanged for years, a car designed in a rival brand's factory, a concept that took 453 orders but was never brought to market. All of these are Mercedes products. There is only one name for this. It is a character. And if that character could speak, it would say this: doing the right thing at the right time isn't quite enough. If you believe in what you're going to do, you can do it even at the wrong time, or you don't do it yourself, you have a competitor do it, or you wait for very many years. Classic Mercedes cars are not just automobiles. Each one is a stroke of genius, a legend, and an engineering marvel born of engineering decisions. Some decisions are never forgotten, forever. We've reached the end of the video. In the next video, I'll be talking about 11 classic Mercedes engines that have exceeded 1 million kilometers. If you're a classic car enthusiast or a Mercedes devotee, there are carefully prepared videos about classic Mercedes cars on my channel, made just for you. If you subscribe and turn on notifications, you can be informed about these videos. Don't forget to like the video, because that's how the algorithm works. See you next time.